Welcome. I'm Richard Hosnout, and I'm your host for the Wisdom Inspired Life podcast and YouTube channel. The podcast is growing dramatically with listeners in over 70 countries. And we're just starting this YouTube channel with an entirely different set of wisdom, insights, and resources. This podcast and this YouTube channel are really dedicated, as you probably figured out by now, to inspiring people around the world. And we're already doing that with the Wisdom Inspired Life podcast, to be highly caring and compassionate. And in the course of doing that, enabling you to achieve dramatically higher levels of personal happiness. That doesn't sound immediately true, but here's the facts. I've written a book, Ultimate Happiness, which I'll talk more about later, in which the research is very clear. When we serve the needs of others, we achieve higher levels of happiness than when we just achieve our own personal and even selfish levels of happiness. So by serving others, we can both contribute to overcoming the challenges and needs that we have on our home, planet Earth, and achieve higher levels of personal happiness. It's kind of like a win-win, I think. Okay, today I'm going to talk to you about something that I'm asked a number of times, and that is, gosh, Richard, I'm interested in a spiritual journey. I'm interested in learning more. Where can I learn more? Well, I'm not going to be the ultimate oracle by any stretch of the imagination about the best places to learn. I'm going to share with you my experience. If that helps you, good. Suffice it to say that there are many numbers of additional resources over what I'm going to share with you here. But I'm going to talk about what I know. And the focus of what I share with you today is really resources from, and this is what I shared with you in an earlier episode, I'm going to share with you from that highest level of teachers, God, realized, or enlightened teachers. Resources that I have found to be extremely helpful, inspiring, and all that good stuff. So with that said, probably the one that I am most familiar with is the SelfRealization Fellowship, founded in 1920 by Paramahansa Yogananda, that just last year celebrated its 100th birthday. The resources available within the SelfRealization Fellowship are abundant and amazing. I kind of look at it as, in many ways, a one-stop resource. There are so many things you can do there. One of the biggest is that when you start with the Self-Realization Fellowship, you have the opportunity to take week-by-week video and written lessons that last for 2+ years. At least when I was taking them, they've made some major changes. I'm not sure what the length is at the moment. But this was as comprehensive, from diet to exercise to spiritual insights to spiritual practices, forms of meditation, increasing your levels of, and on and on. Just a wonderful, wonderful week-by-week starting point. They also have many temples and places of study and worship on 6 continents, and nuns and brothers that support all of that. You can go on to the Self-Realization Fellowship and you'll find more than 50 books plus audio and video from current leaders, from writings from Paramahansa Yogananda. He passed in 1952, and just an abundant, and I'll share a couple of those just in a minute. A magazine, and all of this is available in more than 20 languages. Retreat centers. Encinitas is one of the on the ocean, in the Pacific Ocean, just south of Carlsbad and north of Del Mar in California, if you're at all interested in that. Just a wonderful, wonderful set of resources. As I mentioned, these are just a few of the books that you'll find available. The Bhagavad Gita and the Second Coming of Christ, if you're familiar with the Wisdom Inspired Life podcast, are subjects of extended series on those 2 books within the podcast. Major sources of wisdom and insight on two of the greatest sources that are available on planet Earth today from two great teachers, Krishna and Jesus. But Paramahansa Yogananda has also left us with books on how you can talk with God. It is wonderful, it's simple, it's direct, it's practical. Metaphysical meditations, inner peace, how you achieve that. These are not 500-page books. These are simple, straightforward, highly practical, highly helpful stuff. And the law of success, again, in the same nature. Just really great resources. Okay? As I shared with you earlier, Paramahansa Yogananda is my beloved guru. His autobiography is in a book called Autobiography of a Yogi, one of the best-selling spiritual books over the last 10 or 20 years on Amazon. And a little anecdote that I've shared previously, Steve Jobs, when he passed, on his iPad, he had only one book, Autobiography of a Yogi, which he read every year from his, at least once a year, every year since his college years. An inspiration to him. As I said, many fellowship temples and everything. If you go into the lower left picture there, you see, if you go into a Self-Realization Fellowship temple, you see Yogananda's gurus, plus a picture of Christ and Krishna, because what the Self-Realization Fellowship did with Yogananda is bring together the teachings of Jesus and Krishna, and to show how the core teachings are exactly the same. They come from different times and place and environment, but if you take a look at the core teachings, they are the teachings through the voice of God, which both of Krishna and Jesus were able to bring to us. Lower right is a picture taken from the Encinitas facility. Beautiful overlook of the Pacific Ocean, a number of beautiful places there. Next is one of my favorite people on planet Earth, His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama of Tibet. Just an amazing, amazing person. This is a picture of one of the many meetings that he holds with people worldwide on topics on a regular basis. And I've participated in some of these, and just to be in the presence and the energy of His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama of Tibet, is just wonderful, wonderful. A God-realized being for sure, wise, funny, knowledgeable across a wide range of topics, meeting with Western scientists, just a number of things, just inspired by him. He's got a lot of books that he's published, many of them with co-authors. The Art of Happiness I've mentioned previously, probably one of his best-selling books. I've had a few conversations, in-person conversations with his co-author on that book, which is an interesting conversation about how different he is from the Dalai Lama. Conversation maybe for another day. The Book of Joy with the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu. And I love that picture, don't you, of the cover of that? Facing Death and Dying Well. Very good. The Dalai Lama's Little Book of Inner Peace. You can just go on to Amazon, search for that. There are many videos on YouTube of the Dalai Lama. Just his energy and his presence are absolutely wonderful. So enjoy. There are other Buddhists, as I've shared with you before. Sogal Rinpoche was a monumental, pivotal teacher in my life, where in studying with him at Esalen, south of Big Sur, I learned what a human being could be. So wise, compassionate, and joyful. Joyful. Oh, sense of humor, wonderful. And his long-time best-selling book, The Tibetan Book of Living and Dying. Sogal Rinpoche passed a couple of years ago, but there are a number, again, of YouTube videos, and one of them, actually a number of Sogal's works and everything are featured in the Wisdom Inspired Life podcast, including The Nature of the Mind, one of his greatest teachings that he did several years ago in France. So lots of videos for Sogal Rinpoche and other Rinpoches, so great resource there. These are a few other resources that I'm sure you're aware of: the Catholic Church, the Quran, shamanism, and others. These are not ones that I have very limited familiarity with, and showing these three is not meant to say that they're the only other three, because there are other resources out there. Okay, so how do you figure out? I figured it out. Self-Realization Fellowship and Buddhist teachers were the ones that were extremely helpful to me. Many, many others: Ken Wilber, Deepak Chopra, to name just a few of the people that were extremely helpful. So how do you do this? Well, I'm not sure there's a one-size-fit formula for everyone, so I'll just share with you a thought. Begin by exploring. Go into a bookstore or look at videos on YouTube or wherever you can get exposed to a variety of teachers. Read or view videos and see if there's someone that you connect with. Why? Their language, their words, their images, however it is that you feel a connection. And then commit to them for a while, at least for a while, and go deeper into their teachings. Okay? And you gain great nourishment over time. Make this an important part of your life if you're really serious about your spiritual journey. Okay? And as you grow, find new resources. In big steps, my life went from Sogal Rinpoche being the key spiritual figure in my life to growing to Paramahansa Yogananda in the Self-Realization Fellowship. Sogal Rinpoche, by his own admission, was not an enlightened or realized person, but a very advanced spiritual person. And Yogananda clearly was a God-realized teacher and was able to bring a much higher level of teachings to me and guidance for me. So that's the path I was on. If you want to know a little bit more about that path, I've written a book, one of my 6, titled My Wisdom-Inspired Life, A Provocative True Story. And it's really how I went from being a competitive type A individual who, if asked, probably would say that he didn't really believe in God, know God, to today I'm deeply in love and dedicated to God. The transformation has been wonderful. Among other transformations that I share with you in the course of this book. This is not my handbook for how you should do it. This is a handbook for how I did it. If it gives you some assistance, thumbs up, okay? See if it is of help to you. Thank you very much for listening to this episode and others. Subscribe if you are so inclined. And I look forward to continuing our journey together soon.